Candace Owens is the relevant party here. She just did a whole video about what she thinks was responsible. And I think she's hitting the Israel notes. Holy this is why I said Steven Crowder, give me Candace Owens. 1.1 million views in 2 hours, okay? 1.1 million views. Dude, we are operating with the old mindset. The notion that Ben Shapiro's word is worth a damn. The notion that Steven Crowder's word is worth a damn. They do not matter. Candace Owens has been the new wave of right-wing commentary. Out of all of those like institutional Republicans, the only one that actually had a little bit of motion was Charlie Kirk.
There's a lot that I would like to speak with you guys about. Can't wait to hear your feedback. A lot of lies that are being put there, narratives that I would say are half-truths or just misrepresentations entirely. And I don't really see the reason for that. First and foremost, to let you know, last week was not a dream. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. And he was publicly executed. I want to make that clear. Charlie Kirk was publicly executed before the world. And as we are all searching for answers, the ones that are being supplied to us are not making a lot of sense. And some people, I would say, are speaking too much, are speaking on behalf of other people. I don't like it. I will say something that I think brought the world a lot of relief, also, sadness.
I mean, dude, judging by the conservative media reaction to Charlie Kirk, I will say when Candace Owens says a friend was assassinated, she means it. Out of every single person that I've seen react to Charlie Kirk's assassination, Candace Owens is the only person who actually showed their experiences together.
As we were grieving with her was when his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk, addressed not just the nation, but the entire world. Her words were very powerful. And we just have a very brief portion of her remarks, which you should pursue in their entirety. But here she is.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
Beautiful, powerful words. Charlie had just one wife. What we got to see across this weekend is that there were so many people around the world, like she said, who were deeply moved by Charlie Kirk throughout.
One wife? Oh, did she mean one life, but accidentally said one wife? That's not like, she said one life? Okay. Well, I wasn't alone in hearing what I heard, because look at the CC or the closed captions.
So many people around the world, like she said, who were deeply moved by Charlie Kirk throughout their lives, and of course have been deeply moved by this tragedy. And what she is describing there, that fire, a lot of us are feeling it. I am definitely feeling it. I had a very tough weekend, I will say this, my entire life, I've not been much of a crier. It is not my choice emotion. I'm not a person who bursts into tears, and some people are like that. This weekend, I didn't just cry. I wept. I wept for Charlie. Obviously, I didn't make it through the tribute to him on Friday. And for those of you who wanted to see me in a moment of weakness, that was delivered to you. Fair. Yeah, I watched my friend get shot in the neck. Yeah, that's what happened. I just want to say that he was publicly executed again before the world. The question is why, right? When you are in a state of grief, you go through a lot of emotions, and I'm arriving right now at a lot of anger. The audacity of some people. It has taken much restraint and prayer, and I had to speak with a priest. I had to go to confession. These emotions that I am having, wanting to respond with Charlie in his own words, really. People that are coming forward and saying this is what he thought and this is how he should be remembered. It just feels really inappropriate to me. I didn't know what to do other than to scroll through messages between me and Charlie, regarding which there are a ton of them. And kept going back and watching the many videos of us dancing to the song Power. And it felt appropriate to reach out to Ye, speaking about things, talking about his mode when he wrote the song. You know, when you wrote the song Power, why did we have it as our hype song? Because the song is about the ability to find it within yourself to become what you know you are capable of becoming inside of a matrix, when you just realize everything is dishonest, that everything is performative, that people are dishonest, that they are going to try to stop you from being great. In fact, it's the end of the song, the question that he asks at the end of the song, that's the most important. Ye asks, do you have the power to let power go? Do you have the power to say no to power? You know, I told you guys that Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation at the end, and all of the usual suspects were really angry that I hinted towards that. What do you mean? You're not allowed to say that. They were attacking me, trying to make me fearful, to speak out and speak about the things that I know. I'm not feeling very fearful right now. I am, like I said, very angry. And I found, Charlie's favorite portion of the song. I'll show you the text between him and I. It was very relevant right now. This is, again, lyrics directly from the song Power, but I just needed time alone with my own thoughts, got treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. My childlike creativity, purity, and honesty is honestly being crowded by these grown thoughts. Reality is catching up with me, taking my inner child.
What the f? They would send lyrics to one another? Bro, they would send Kanye West lyrics? What is happening, bro?
Fighting for custody with these responsibilities that they entrusted me. And that's a moment where he is really speaking about how hard it is. Like when you're saying, no, this is what I believe. And they say, you're not allowed to believe that. You feel like you are fighting for custody of yourself. And I want to be very clear that I believe, in fact, I know that towards the end, Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly. And there are lies that are being told and they need to be slapped down right now. There's one person who's been out there acting like he is a widow, you know, just saying the absolute most, tweeting first about what happened to Charlie, following it minute to minute, you know, and doing hits in a foreign country, right? Like making time to do hits on Fox News, 2 of them. Bibi Netanyahu who's fighting, I think, like an 84 front war with everyone, made a lot of time for Charlie Kirk. You would have thought they were the best of friends, as close as him and Trump were. But I will say I don't recall Erica mentioning Bibi Netanyahu in her speech. The way he's presenting it is like he was this is just the worst loss for him, but I don't think that is the truth. In fact, I know for a fact that he is misrepresenting some things that happened there towards the end. So let's at first listen to what Bibi Netanyahu just one day, less than 24 hours after Charlie died, what Bibi Netanyahu had to say on Fox News. Take a listen.
We're just heartbroken. Myself, my wife, my family, my son, actually, on his 2019 visit to Israel, had lunch with him and his wife, Erica. We're shattered first as human beings because a great human being has been taken from us. Was an extraordinary friend. He said, he wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defense.
I will be honest. Look, I told you what I told you already. I don't think Charlie Kirk was like ever going to turn on Israel or anything like that. Regardless of what his close friends are saying after he passed away. Okay, after he got assassinated. But Benjamin Netanyahu's been so weird about everything. Like from being the first to market. We saw it in real time. He was the first person. He tweeted praying for Charlie Kirk at Charlie Kirk 1 before Trump did. Go back and review the VOD because we were first to market. Like, and there's a video of me like even yelling at a New York Times photojournalist saying like, come on, you're a New York Times reporter. Like, how dare you send me this shit? Like, is unsubstantiated or whatever. And then in real time, I'm like, my skepticism turns into utter horror, as you've seen, right? And in that process, we also saw the first praying for Charlie Kirk tweet come from a foreign leader, Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, that was strange as. Now I think the Israel stuff is far-fetched. Okay. Especially because I don't think he was, especially because, you know, Charlie wasn't turning, right? That was like half an hour after the shot. No, it was, am I crazy? I feel like it was even before, no, not before the shot, but like it was not half an hour. It was like 5 minutes, dude. It was like, cause I can tell you, with the exception of people that were there at that event, this community was able to figure out that Charlie Kirk had been shot before anywhere else because we immediately went and scoured the internet and found people who were filming at the event. It's all on the VOD. Every single thing unfolded on the VOD. I'm just simply stating that Benjamin Netanyahu tweeting out prayers up for Charlie Kirk basically 5 to 10 minutes after Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, before no major media outlet was aware of this incident unfolding, okay? He tweeted 39 minutes after the actual shooting. We found out that the shooting was taking place like probably 20 minutes after the shooting had taken place, okay? I would love to go through like a forensic architecture style analysis on this because I want to know what the exact like timeline looks like, because like the actual time when Charlie Kirk got shot and then like when people started reporting on it, right? But it's still nutty that Benjamin Netanyahu, a war criminal, a genocidaire, who is on the other side of the planet conducting a unlimited ethnic cleansing campaign, whatever time it is in Israel at that point, is like up late night posting about prayers up for Charlie Kirk. Anyway, you have people in here saying within a few minutes of the shooting. No, sorry. It was within a few minutes after people started finding out that a shooting had taken place. Like, people saying Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck maybe immediately after doesn't mean that people actually believe that there was a real shooting that had unfolded. Until there was video evidence, I think it's not, you know, not going to be a thing. It's not gonna be considered like a real thing that has taken place. That was strange, but also his behavior since then has also been strange. But I mean, I understand it. Like, I understand why he would be super locked in on American affairs, because, you know, he knows that Israel support is at an all-time low. Okay, Israel support is at a all-time low, and obviously he has to pay close attention to American affairs and try to garner as much support as they possibly can. Okay? But even then, it's like odd. He was like, oh, it must be the Muslims that did it. Okay.
Of our common Judeo-Christian civilization, he was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And, you know, this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra-progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence.
Dude, there's something so fucking... This is the maximalist position, by the way, of like people chirping about political violence. You're Benjamin Netanyahu. You're doing a genocide. Okay. Do you guys understand? A person that is currently conducting a genocide is talking about the fears of being silenced due to political violence. Like, dude, what are you saying? You are the most violent person. You have literally suppressed the truth by directly shutting off the electricity and attacking the telecommunications infrastructure of Gaza by killing every journalist in Gaza. Do you mean? Oh, you're worried about saying the truth because of violence. The Israeli conspiracy narrative feels like a rehabilitation of Charlie Kirk into something he's not. He was never pro-Palestine. He was never going to be pro-Palestine. It's weird and also just wrong. I 100% agree with you. I agree with you. I do. That's what I said initially. I did a whole video on it. But like, it basically shows us the understanding of like violence. Systemic violence or state violence is not seen in the same way as like an act of violence that took place against Charlie Kirk. Okay? Do you understand? That's why he can go on Fox News and be like, oh, I'm so scared of the violence that silences dissent. It's ridiculous.
Violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk.
Okay, that was the funny thing about his like attempted assassination, by the way, that he's talking about is that, what was it, like a 70-year-old woman or something? I calculated the shot happened at the 41-minute mark during your stream while you were watching a video about Zoran. Ah, yes, you and that chatter know more about Charlie Kirk's Israel support than Candace Owens, someone he was friends with to the point they shared music lyrics to one another. I guess you know more than her about Charlie shaking my head. No, I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I do know more about Charlie Kirk's like values and his public persona than the average person does. Okay. But what I was trying to explain is, even if Charlie Kirk literally was telling Candace Owens, like, I'm scared about Israel, the notion that he was going to pivot to an anti-Israel position is insane. And the reason why it's insane is because Trump is not pivoting away from Israel. Until Trump pivots away from Israel, Charlie Kirk is not pivoting from Israel, because Charlie Kirk is not pivoting from Trump. It's that simple.
It's just heartbreaking.
Who is they, BP? Who is they who got Charlie Kirk? We don't have to actually speak conspiracies. I'm just wondering, because you said a lot there, but it really sounded like it was about Bibi trying to establish a narrative that we saw reinforced by a lot of people, that, Charlie kind of made it almost sound like he died for Israel. I mean, Trump's account even tweeted out a photo of Charlie and an American flag and also an Israeli flag, a bit of AI used, like this is just who Charlie was. He says Judeo-Christian values. He spoke to him 2 weeks ago. Again, you would think he was busy fighting this 97,000 front war, but no, he's letting you know that he just randomly picks up the phone and calls Charlie Kirk and invites him to Israel. Why would Bibi do that? It seems like maybe there's a little more to the story. No, there definitely is a little bit more to the story. First and foremost, that letter he is holding up, he is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real.
I will say, I guess it's like a weird turn in the positive that, like, in the aftermath of your death, people fantasize that you actually were any moment now going to turn on Israel in an effort to feel better about supporting you, which means that, like, the environment has changed so dramatically that even conservatives are like, no, you don't understand. Any moment now, Charlie's going to turn on Israel. Like, I promise, bro. It was going to happen. The right is dropping Judeo. Yeah, I mean, it's I said that before. The right added on Judeo to the America was born on Christian values. I don't know the approximate timeline of this, but I suspect, like, it became much more popular after 9/11. Okay? War on terror. Israel is helping us fight our eternal enemies, that sort of thing. I'm sure Judeo-Christian values like existed before in like the 70s and 80s, but never to this degree.
But I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Like, don't start with just 2 sentences. Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents, that in May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics and how they were pushing things that he felt were in conflict with his beliefs, free speech here in America.
I don't agree with Blumenthal's school of thought, but Blumenthal's school of thought. But the Gray Zone article reveals that Israel wanted to invest a massive infusion of pro-Israel money into TPUSA, and Kirk refused. Kirk, according to one person with inside knowledge of the meeting with Ackman, said he left the meeting as though he'd been blackmailed. Yeah, I believe that. I still don't think he was going to turn on Israel, though. That could very well have taken place. He could have very well told people in his orbit that he was conflicted on the way that the environment was shifting on Israel. None of that means he was going to shift on Israel publicly. As long as Donald Trump is not shifting on Israel, Charlie Kirk was not shifting on Israel. Okay? That's it.
Bibi's holding it up like Charlie just in May said, hey, you know what? I just want to write a love letter to Israel. That's how it was presented. Would you guys agree? That's not how it happened. Now, regarding that phone call and that invite, that also needs to be contextualized. And I'm going to do that. But first, Skylar, can we bring in a clip of Charlie from a month ago speaking about the kind of pressure that he was under? Because I think that will also help to further contextualize this. Take a listen.
I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been
almost
so
as if,
unfair.
I love that. Dude, I'm sorry. I can't. This is, you know what this reminds me of? Bill Clinton. Okay? Jeffrey Epstein associate Bill Clinton, and also major Israel dick rider Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, in his private correspondence, has openly communicated his distaste for Israel. Bill Clinton, in the way that he operated, of course, was a major dick rider for Israel. The reason that a lot of people who deal with Israel feel this way, they all feel this way. Charlie Kirk, I'm sure Donald Trump is not even that big of a fan either in his personal affairs, is because we know how people who are a part of the Israeli state behave. They are repulsive. They are unimaginably arrogant. They are the most entitled you've ever encountered in your life. Why is it that I always go, no politique here, Israel number one, and everyone understands exactly what I'm pointing to? Because even a random soccer fan being interviewed by a non-contentious outlet comes across like in that very moment. The sense of entitlement is out of control. Partially as a consequence, I think, of the ethnic religious superiority that is baked into the collective consciousness of Zionism and Zionists in general. Okay? But that's what it is. So yeah, everyone that has like private affairs or private correspondence might feel annoyed in that process. But ultimately, when all is said and done, they just still play their role. Okay?
They were coming after you after a turning point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the fifth time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of? When Matt Walsh was getting a lot of heat for still working at the Daily Wire, because obviously Ben Shapiro is not only Jewish, but also the most vicious dick rider of Israel, right? So a lot of Nazis were like, Matt, you're one of us. Why the you still work for Jewish Ben Shapiro, right? So I am almost certain that Ben and Matt talked, and Matt was like, hey, I'm just going to post the swastika. Please don't get mad at me. And he posted that AI swastika image of the white family, the hidden swastika image, to just basically cool off the groypers in the audience, to be like, dog, I'm about to post a swastika. I'm just letting you know, okay? Straight up. And it's like that. Come on, bro. Just one Swazi, please. Let me hit the swastika one time, bro. These guys will not stop coming after me, dude. Chad thinks that if you got to your debate with Charlie Kirk, you'd be in agreement. Yeah. Unironically, he would have shifted his position by that point. It would have been the major reveal. He would have come out and been like, Hasan, we don't agree on much. We don't agree on much, but on this Israel stuff, you are right. We must dismantle the Zionist entity piece by piece, okay? Of course, a violent apartheid structure over the course of 100+ years, ethnic cleansing and complete domination is going to have naysayers, is going to have violent resistance as a consequence of that. He was actually going to give me his Hezbollah banner. He had one in his back pocket, and he was going to wave it around. He was going to wave around the Hezbollah flag that he took out of his back pocket. That's where it was. And then Israel knew that it was going to happen right before he recited the Shahada, by the way, so that we could both be connected and find the light of Islam and Jannah together. They stopped him. Yeah, he was going to toss out keffiyehs instead of MAGA hats.
And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
Yeah, this just seems like he's mad because he's dick rode Israel into oblivion, and Israel supporters do not allow even a little bit of reasonable conversation, reasonable discourse, reasonable back and forth, because then you're against Israel. How dare you do that? You're an anti-Semite. You're a vicious anti-Semite. So I think he's just mad because he's very clearly saying, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I've been a dick rider Israel. Let me have some conversations about Israel, Jesus Christ, without you yelling at me and saying I'm a Nazi.
No, it's not defensible to be dumb, and he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation he had with Megan was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire. Obviously, he is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? Who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you'd spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer. But I guess this is where you thought it was best to do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu in that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record.
Hasan, this is what took to open my mom's eyes about Israel, by the way. This morning she said, I did some research and you are right about Israel. This was the research, by the way. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, conservatives can look at a situation that is like right smack dab in front of their eyes, and the only way that they will arrive at the correct conclusion is if they just take like a million sidesteps and entertain some of the most psychotic conspiracies that make no damn sense. That's the reason why it was like kind of funny for me, because I wasn't live at the time, but I was seeing all of the chatter coming from the right and how they changed their narrative quickly, going from this is a trans Antifa shooter to like, oh, he's one of our guys. And I think it's literally because they also believe this dude was a groiper. They saw a white guy from a conservative, good MAGA family, and they thought, oh, this guy might have been to the right of Charlie. Okay? I think that's literally, like, they are more susceptible to misinformation than information. You can convince, I think, Republicans into believing in, like, socialism as long as you, like, traffic it through conspiracy theories. They've been so primed into believing falsehoods that falsehoods are actually more valuable in changing the perspective, or just like haphazardly put together theories are better at convincing the modern right than just logical thinking, just critical thinking.
And to say that it didn't go down this way, it was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, like not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel I'm going
to say it one more time. All of this can literally be true, 100% true, and still not prove that Charlie Kirk was ever going to publicly turn on Israel, okay? Because the higher priority here must be given to Charlie Kirk's purpose as a political operative. Charlie Kirk's purpose as a political operative was to defend Donald Trump, no matter what. And any type of straying away from the Trump line on any particular issue was done at the behest of becoming a better propaganda minister for Donald Trump so that he could still maintain some level of credibility in the base. Okay? Do I believe that Israel actively went after right-wing influencers that were close in Trump's orbit to demand fealty, to demand more loyalty? Absolutely. Do I believe that they did it in the most annoying, like the most egregiously arrogant way possible? Yes, of course. I have seen Israeli envoys. I have debated envoys of Israel. I know how they operate. They are really gross, annoying, and arrogant. None of that means that the diehard fedayeen of Donald Trump was going to turn around, a company man, yes, was going to turn around and be like, any moment now, this is it.
I would describe this as like, re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that.
Yeah, here, this is Mortaza Hussein's take. Apparently, a lot of conservative influencer backlash to Israel is based on the fact that if you work for an organization that has pro-Israel donors, they demand total message discipline and conformity on the subject and will immediately fire you and take everything away if you deviate even partly from the script. Many conservative organizations are funded by such donors, and this uncompromising ideological environment, especially at a time when the Israeli conduct is becoming extremely shocking, is becoming unbearable. Israel has always had a strain of if you're not with us, you're against us, based on harsh historical experience. But right now it's reached a fever pitch where anything short of total symbolic submission is taken as a hostile act. Why are you doing this? Why am I doing what? Dude, I'm going through perhaps the most noteworthy conspiracy that pertains to the major story of this week. The high-profile, very public assassination of a Trump advisor, an important figure in the conservative movement, a shrewd conservative operator, Charlie Kirk. This is Charlie Kirk's friend and in the past co-host. Okay, this got in 3 hours 1.5 million views. This is the narrative in many conservative circles. The notion that Israel is somehow responsible for Charlie Kirk's assassination. In the process of discovery, we are also talking about a million different ways in which the pro-Israel groups operate. Okay? And how Israel as a nation state operates in its sophisticated propaganda network.
I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay, there were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to talk to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages, but my friend was shot in the neck, and I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweet because, he tweeted, I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk this summer. He was a giant of a man. I said, any comment on this one, Seth? He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, need a comment ASAP, please. He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused. Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk, ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah. You see, I went out to Seth, but I also went out to two other people who were at this meeting, and nobody is willing to go on record. They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week, who were at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure, when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again, in a move that when it happened to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up, to tell us what really happened, because, I think Charlie was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. He says, ha ha.
I mean, the only thing that I think is like really crazy about this is that there are a lot of prominent right-wing former friends, current, or friends, close friends of Charlie Kirk and all these other people that are saying that it's Israel when, they could just as easily lean into the trans Antifa shit. You know what I mean? Because the trans Antifa shit is like the safe narrative for their career ambitions, You're
speaking about Mary. And typically when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. Again, it is mystifying why, Bibi is out there doing the absolute most to make sure that Charlie was basically remembered as, I would argue, like a Jew, has not been yet mentioned. I didn't hear that. Erica was very clear that Charlie was a Christian, and I believe Charlie obviously was very much a Christian, and that things are not being told truthfully. In fact, I will also call upon, since we're having fun, Turning Point USA to release the audio of what Charlie Kirk, because I was in communication with Charlie at this time, because I knew exactly which donors were pressuring him and why, exactly which people that they were insisting Charlie allowed to speak at his event and why, when Charlie did not necessarily want those people to speak at his event, okay? I'm calling upon Turning Point to release the footage of what Charlie said to Tucker Carlson before he hit the stage, before, all of that craziness and the response to Tucker Carlson's remarks played out. Charlie was mic'd. Surely Tucker Carlson was mic'd. I know Charlie's mic'd the entire time at those events. So I'm asking for everyone to just release Charlie in his own words. I feel like that's pretty fair, right? Let's stop saying how Charlie felt. And instead, if you're going to hold up the letter, release it in its entirety. Okay? Why don't you release your messages, Bill? I'll release mine. Let's all just be very forthcoming about what took place. In fact, I'm calling upon Tucker Carlson to speak about that. I know what Charlie said to him, and I'm sure Tucker Carlson won't lie about it. What did Charlie say to you? Dave Smith, what did Charlie say to you? What was Charlie? Did he seem like he was treading in the direction? Like, do we feel like what Bibi is saying is honest, a representation of what Charlie was going through? This is what I want. I think that the thing that we need here, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Now, does all of this mean that Bibi Netanyahu and that this somehow proves that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? No, we have no evidence of that. We can't say that because there is no evidence of that. But I don't like little lies. That's what I will say. Something that I always say in my household is, when there is one lie, there's 20. There's no reason to lie. Bibi could have gone on Fox News and he could have told the truth. He could have said truthfully that Charlie Kirk has always loved Israel. He has always loved Israel as the Holy Land. He's been here many times.
He did say that.
And throughout his career, he has been a faithful supporter of Israel.
He did say that.
That's not what he said.
He said that, though.
Okay. He talks about the phone call and didn't give it the proper context.
I don't know about this extra phone call, but he did say that, because it is true.
He held up the letter and didn't give it the proper context. And lies by severe omission, I'd like to be...
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to fire off like this, but this is an understandable suspicion to have. If there was even one iota of a post by Tyler Robinson saying anything with even a remotely left ideology, it'd be plastered all over the news, you say. I'm just genuinely surprised as to why they haven't gone to market with that, because I would suspect there to be something that they could even present as like leftist beyond the bullet casings, right? And I just don't know. I mean, I guess tomorrow we will find out, because there's going to be the big press release and the charges and all the preliminary investigations that have been conducted so far. But like, I do feel like this is something that they are waiting for, right? They're desperately looking for it. And I don't understand it, because it's like every time one of these like high profile incidents takes place, like there's so many mysteries. Like even Thomas Crooks, when you think about it, had like genuinely indecipherable politics, like registered Republican. People go, oh, well, he gave a donation to Act Blue, which is like, it seems like it was a meme donation. It's like when I donated to Kirsten Gillibrand, $1 singular dollar. Okay. But I am confused by it, because they just keep hinting at like how this person is a leftist, or the Trump administration is going on with this like notion that this guy's definitely a leftist, definitely a leftist, definitely a leftist. We got to stamp out the left. And I think it's strange when you have a 20-something-year-old who is like clearly invested in like online memes, who's on Discord playing video games and shit. Like, how the does a 22-year-old not have like a very visible social media footprint, like a very visible profile? It just doesn't make any sense. And not only does that not make any sense, like I'm saying, if he was like, some people just don't do social media like that, and that's fine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like a person who was on Discord, there has to be more social media profiles beyond Discord and Steam, you know?
Very clear are lies. Lies by severe omission are lies. You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed. Again, my platform is yours, Seth Dillon. My platform is yours, Bill Ackman. So if you want to clarify it, we can do it in front of millions, okay? And I think that that's what people deserve, because everyone has PTSD. We watched Charlie get shot in the throat. That feels a little bit symbolic. It feels like they wanted us to know that his voice was problematic. Again, I don't know who they is. After we take this brief break, we're going to go through the investigation, which seems to have a lot of inconsistencies and holes in it. And we're definitely not yet at the bottom of what in fact took place. But I do know that I severely distrust people who rush to misrepresent things. And it's not a good sign when somebody has to ask you, as Greta Van Susteren asked Bibi Netanyahu in his secondary hit regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's not a good sign if somebody even has to ask if you did have anything to do with the assassination. It doesn't make you a great person, okay? And that's what she asked him. Take a listen.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing it's not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this. But,
bro, I mean, sure, granted, it's a difficult question to answer. It's a weird question to answer. You're always going to look kind of bad when you answer it. But it is just a strange thing. Did that change your mind? No, I saw this already. I saw this. I tweeted about it. I said, that was a weird question. and a weird way to answer that question. That was just a weird thing to say. That's why I was like, I think that while I think that Israel killed him narratives are far-fetched, especially because like I don't think that Charlie Kirk was going to publicly turn on Israel. I will, however, reiterate the point that Israel has behaved in a truly weird way throughout this entire process. Like, I don't know if it's because they're just like incapable. I'm incapable of seeing Benjamin Netanyahu as anything but a suspicious person, just a bad person overall. I'm just so conditioned into assuming whatever he says is the exact opposite of reality from the many years that I have listened to Benjamin Netanyahu just lie over and over again with no repercussions whatsoever. It's just, he's just very odd. He's just a very odd guy.
They go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin. We're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater...
Like, what's crazy about the disservice that Israel has committed to the long, calculated history of the long and extensively researched history of blood libel is the fact that he says it's blood libel when they laser a school and we watch it on camera with children in the school, and he goes, that's blood libel, akin to claiming Jews are poisoning the well. It's like, you did it so much. Like, no, that's not blood libel. And that causes people to go, maybe the blood libel isn't fake either when you do that to a very real thing. This is what I mean about like betraying a sense of normalcy, like an expectation that like a country's leader is going to be honest to a certain degree, at least to like maintain some semblance of credibility. Okay? This is an instance where like you hit the blood libel thing, but the most common blood libel defense, this is blood libel defense, is when I see Israel do something with my own two eyes, and then Israel turns around and says, this is blood libel.
And greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Ah, well, he's mentioned the Holocaust. Guess we can't prod the narrative any further, guys. Holocaust. So everybody's just stopped talking about anything. I mean, hey, he's the victim. It's absurd. It's just absurd. The Holocaust happened. You heard him. We're sick of this shit. We really are. And there will be no narrative that I will not prod when it comes to figuring out why people are lying about the state that Charlie was in when it came to the topic of Israel. Again, you can examine Charlie in his own words. He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money and big checks are being written.
Yeah, the only like verifiable real thing that Candace Owens is pointing to, which is still sandwiched between like a bunch of suspicions, a bunch of speculation, some of it baseless, some of it directly because Benjamin Netanyahu is a horrible actor, is the notion that like you get money from Israel, you have to dick ride Israel into oblivion, and they will come and collect if you don't. I believe that 100%. I 100% believe that, because not only do I believe that because like Israel does have a very sophisticated network of operatives that are constantly saying some of the most unhinged, but like I see the arrogance of Israeli propaganda administrators and how relentless they are, how arrogant and entitled they are when they're supposed to show their best face to the West. None of which still means that, they flapped them, for the record. Do you understand? Like, that's not enough evidence. That is not enough evidence that, to me at least, that like Israel would kill Charlie Kirk because they were so scared that he was going to turn on Israel publicly.
And that pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, but there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Bro, he said that, which is, again, correct. Okay. And then he literally turned around and said, Donald Trump told me not to speak about Jeffrey Epstein, so I'm done with the Epstein stuff. Can we please remember? Okay. Can we please remember what took place? Yeah, he said that. Okay, I know.
I don't know. It seems to conflict with Bibi's narrative a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. I do want to say this. It's important because I am angry.
So what? He was still going to invite Tucker and many others who will speak on it? Yes, because Turning Point USA's best skill was with the exception of Nick Fuentes and some of the more like extreme versions, like the extreme anti-Semite, anti-Israel, extreme anti-Semite, anti-Israel advocates that are on the far right. Turning Point USA's best skill was to create this mass network of Republican diversity of opinion. Okay? The reason why you do that is so that you can maintain some kind of credibility. You can maintain some kind of credibility for people who go, yeah, you know what? Actually, it's obvious that, like, you know, Charlie himself is pro-Israel, but like he still lets people who are anti-Israel speak at his conferences, stuff like that.
I will obviously, I pray to move on from this phase, but it's a fire in my belly right now. To those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me, okay? And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages, I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair, okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged. Now, I'm going to take a pause. We're going to go to some sponsors, and then we're going to get into what we are being told by the agencies. They're definitely code, Candace. Okay. Let's get into what we know about the Charlie Kirk assassination thus far in terms of what the authorities are telling us. First, I just want to toss it to Michael Savage because the energy of this, what Michael Savage had to say about everything that we're hearing, is pretty much all of us right now. Take a listen.
The so-called FBI, something's wrong. I know I shouldn't do this. I'm risking an awful lot to go up against this FBI, the MAGA FBI. Something's very wrong with what I just heard. I mean, I watched it. I was hoping that they had caught the bastard who shot Charlie. So we saw a video of a person jumping off the roof. It looked very legitimate to me. However, there was no rifle in his hand. Now,
I don't even think that's true. No, there was. It was wrapped around in a towel. Why are these guys saying that there was no rifle? No, he definitely jumped off the roof with a rifle in his hand. No, it wasn't in his pants. No, he did. He jumped off the roof with a rifle in his hands. And the rifle was wrapped in a towel. Am I crazy? What's suspicious is when he actually walked up to the roof, the photos they have of him when he's walking up to the roof show only a backpack. There's no gun there when he's walking up to the roof. But when he's actually jumping off the roof, he does have like a long barrel something in his hands. I mean, that he picks up off the ground, and there's a towel that's wrapping it. No, hold on. Let's watch here. Look. Look, you can't really see whether he has a rifle here or not. But yeah, you see something is in his hands right there, like a towel. And he drops it, or he drops with it. Do you see that? Like he has like a towel that's hiding, but I don't know. He had transgender in the towel. Oh no. Our biggest fears have been realized. Maybe it was in the bag first. He didn't have time to put it back. Like, see, he's like dangling something. And I can't tell if that's his... Like, he's dangling something. He's very clearly covering something up. It is a crazy drop, by the way.
It does not break down very easily, incidentally, for those of you who know weapons. Something's wrong with the whole thing. They're trying to claim he removed the barrel from the Mauser and fit the receiver and stock in his backpack and barrel in his pants leg all in 2 seconds. It is not easy to remove a Mauser barrel or index it after reinstalling and remain accurate. We are not hearing or seeing reality. And by the way, the photo of the rifle allegedly left in the woods has the barrel installed. So we're supposed to believe a guy is on the run after killing Charlie Kirk, and he pauses in the woods to reinstall a barrel, and then he leaves it for us to find, the FBI to find. I don't believe a word of it. I shouldn't do this. I know I'm putting myself at risk, but I can't take it anymore. I can't take the from this government. It's lying to us. Something's wrong. Something's so wrong. It's sickening.
I watched a show on Vet Bros, and this is all they're talking about. Yeah, it does. That was the biggest mystery that I was also talking about earlier this morning, is that, like, unless it's an incredibly rare rifle that you can break apart, which, once again, the rifle that they showed as the shooter's rifle, allegedly, the FBI showed, is not one of those types of rifles. The very fact that, and that type of rifle is like very expensive. The very fact that he was able to, like, if it's not a foldable Mauser or some shit, that he would be able to take apart the barrel and then fit it back in, is virtually impossible without like specific tools, not just a screwdriver, but specific tools like a table tool that you need. Because it's not like it's not like an AR-15. It's not like 2 pins or anything like that. Candace Owens responds to a lengthy statement issued by billionaire investor Bill Ackman. Ackman was featured heavily in Candace's episode today with respect to a meeting he had with Charlie Kirk this summer. Let's clarify. 1, check your ego. I do not need you to make my platform bigger. Don't confuse your mysterious wealth with influence. You were contacted with plenty of time to respond with your receipts and did not. I know feigning victimhood is kind of an Israeli brand thing, but I was clear that Charlie felt blackmailed by the offer to fund TPUSA, which you refused. No one said Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie Kirk. Try to resist the urge to rewrite history. People in attendance characterized it as an intervention. Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon, according to the attendees, were especially disappointed that Charlie expressed his frustration with Bibi Netanyahu and what would happen if he publicly criticized them. Nothing else in your overly worded response disputes that Charlie was pressed by you and others about his viewpoints on Israel and about Tucker Carlson or Bibi's phone call. Try to stay focused and answer all the questions. As a follow-up and a separate question, do you know anything about the alleged $150 million Bibi offered for an anti-Tucker Carlson campaign? DM's open.
Sickening is definitely the right adjective, I think, to describe how a lot of us are feeling. And all I know how to do is to gather information, to research, and to investigate. And nothing is making sense. Now, it could not be making sense because we've not arrived at the conclusion. The FBI, I will say, has recently come out and said they're looking for another person. Good, because what we have so far obviously cannot be it. I feel, I was insisting that everybody read that book, Chaos, about the Charles Manson murders. And what we learn from that book is that if the government does want to hide something, what they do is they give you so much information that you can't, you don't even know what's real. So many different possible ways that things could have gone down, so many different manners, so many people speaking, so many publications publishing. And it's just meant to be chaotic, to drive you crazy and to just go, okay, I'm just going to accept whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay? And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads,
like I'm telling you right now, I would be way more I'd be more open to like, oh, Israel did this narratives if there was like a shooter profile that was designed around a narrative that Israel would want out there. Like, oh, this guy did it because he said free Palestine. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like if there was like some sort of framing involved in this, all we've gotten is the administration claiming, not even talking about Israel really or Palestine, but the administration basically saying he's a trans Antifa leftist. And we got to take out the Ford Foundation and George Soros. We're investigating George Soros. Do you see what I mean?
Everyone is confusing us about what actually took place with Charlie Kirk, this event, how it got set up. I even would like to know who picked the venue. Okay, here is what we know thus far, and I will tell you who the exact source is and what video they presented. So, the first bit of proof regarding that day happened at 8:07 a.m. According to TMZ, they have footage, and we're going to show you it, which shows a man at 8:07 a.m., so hours before the shooting, wearing a maroon t-shirt and light shorts, as you were seeing on your screen right now.
Damn, that's white, bro. I can see how pasty his legs are from this goddamn Ring camera footage, bro.
And in his pockets, that is just walking outside of university grounds, okay? Now, Governor Cox tells us that at 8:29, which is an interesting timeline, Governor Cox tells us that that is when the shooter, Tyler Robinson, arrived at UVU, hands in his pockets, that is just walking outside of university grounds, okay? Now, Governor Cox tells us that at 8:29, which is an interesting timeline, Governor Cox tells us that that is when the shooter, Tyler Robinson, arrived at UVU campus in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, and a black hat with a white logo. So essentially, he's saying that that person we saw walking down the street right there arrived on campus at 8:29. I'm going to allow you hear Governor Cox say that himself. Take a listen.
Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes.
So what's interesting, already confusing to me, is that TMZ shows him already walking. We're supposed to believe he walked, parked his car, and then walked onto campus. They're saying that after that video that you just saw of him walking, he got into his car and then drove to campus. And then at 8:29 p.m. on campus is when he arrives. Already confusing, but let's just keep going. We don't need to poke holes. Let's just keep going with the narrative. Then we're back to TMZ, and they release that at 11:49 a.m., they have footage of the shooter who has now changed his outfit. We're supposed to gather that, again, on a doorbell cam, and he's in a different outfit. So this is 11:49 a.m. Charlie Kirk has not yet been shot. Take a look at this. Okay, and for those of you that are listening to this on audio, you are going to see someone who appears to be limping. Okay, so maybe he changed his outfit at some point and now he's limping. And the idea that we're seeing floated is that he's limping because he's holding the gun in his pants. Okay, that's kind of what's been floated. Okay, that has not particularly come from the feds. I don't believe so, but he's limping now and he's got on a different outfit. Okay, 11:52 a.m. And we were actually going to check this, by the way, but I think that we had the FBI say that was when he arrived on campus. Maybe that's not accurate. But so let me just skip off of that because, Skylar, we should actually look to research that. But at 12:23 p.m. is when Charlie Kirk is shot. Okay. And 12:23 p.m. is when in that same minute is when we have footage that shows us that as the crowd ducks, and it's blurry, the shooter runs across the rooftop. I'm going to tell you why that's significant. So 12:23, Charlie Kirk is shot, and we are going to have an angle of that and the image of the person in black, rather, that is running across the rooftop. Take a look at this. They're down, clearly, and right away, look at that, okay? And we have another, so the footage shows us, there's another actually clip that I was looking for, Skylar, there, that it actually shows him running across the rooftop. You guys may have seen it. The reason why that footage is problematic, as you start to see them ducking and then you see the shooter immediately start moving across the rooftop, is that their narrative is that he disassembled the gun and then started running. So that's a bit confusing to us of how he was able to do that so quickly. An unbelievable amount of hunters, guns, people that reached out to me and said, that just didn't happen. They have, exactly as Michael said, that did not happen. There is no way that happened. That cannot be accurate. Then, and this is obviously the craziest part of everything, we have Decoy Boy, right? So it happens and suddenly this guy, George Zinn, gets arrested. He's making noise. He's signaling that he's somehow shot the guy. And at 12:52, it gets announced that the suspect is in custody. So nobody.
This guy, yeah, he's a kook, by the way. And then they're saying he's like a known figure on campus, apparently. But they're gonna say he also, she's gonna bring up his like 9/11 or something, right?
Needs to look around anymore because this suspect is in custody. But actually, I guess George Zinn just does that. He just does that, I guess, like just wants people to think he's done something but he hasn't actually done anything. That, again, to me feels like he's a decoy, like more people are involved in this. And I will say that we don't know, but we know that something's wrong with this. Then at 12:29 p.m., we have TMZ showing us that there's a person running through the backyard. They are saying this appears to be the suspect.
Yeah, he's not just known on campus. He is infamous in South Lake City, Utah County as a whole, is what people were saying. Like, the amount of people that said that guy is like a known figure immediately after his apprehension was so strange to me. Because when we were watching, people were like sending me articles about, what's his name, George Zinn? They were sending me articles about George Zinn, who apparently is infamous. He is infamous in Salt Lake City. I guess that's just kind of how it happens when you're living in Utah.
Suspect running. Okay, now we're going to show you that clip. It is very grainy. So they're alleging that that's him. We couldn't confirm that, and the feds have not confirmed that. But it does show you that someone's running across the back. Again, that's at 12:29 p.m. I don't know. We don't know. I'll give you some other facts that you should probably know just in general that that has been thus far confirmed. The weapon, they say, was found in the woods and it was wrapped by a dark towel. Okay, now, when they gave us a photo of that weapon, it was fully assembled. So this is kind of what Michael Savage is saying. He's saying, okay, so then they reassembled it, or maybe the feds did. Maybe they're going to clarify that they reassembled it for a photograph, but we are told that it was found wrapped in a dark towel. Then we have been told that a screwdriver was found on the roof. So they're sticking to this implication that he perhaps undid this gun while he was on the rooftop, and he, wanted to make sure he unscrewed it with the screwdriver, left the screwdriver behind, but took the gun, but then left the gun in the woods. Okay. Then we get, and this has not been contextualized, and I can't wait until it is contextualized, we get photos that are the shooter. This is when the FBI came out and said he's in a stairwell. We don't know exactly where that stairwell is. He's in outfit number 2. So the outfit change has happened. Okay. There's no timeline again, but we can discern that there is no weapon that is in his pant leg, because we can see him bending one
his
leg.
Like he's just bending his leg, clear as day. But very obviously, there's no weapon.
In one photo, and we can see him bending the other leg in another photo. So we're unclear about.
Could be behind his back, maybe under his shirt. I don't know.
This. What is clear is that there is a ton of cameras on this campus.
Yo, stop saying backpack. What do you mean backpack? There's a photo of him walking up the stairs. Does this backpack look like there's a weapon in it? It would be poking out. It's not a foldable stock. Shut up. The gun, they just showed the gun.
Photo. So we're unclear about this. What is clear is that there is a ton of cameras on this campus. There is a lot of footage that they could release to make the public feel better about this. I mean, tons of different angles. I don't know why we're getting grainy shots at all. There have been tons of people online going through the tech stack of UVU campus and saying like, hey, why are we getting grainy? Why don't you give us clearer images? In fact,
try to just be like, you don't understand. He put it in his inventory. That's why you can't see it. He's no longer holding it. That's not how it works. Where's the gun, man? What do you think this is? Rust? I guess even in Rust, you can see the gun.
You guys could show us.
Yeah, it's not equipped, bro. It's not equipped. You don't understand.
Image here. They're not doing that. They're just going with this like grainy image and saying that's it. And you can get this grainy image, but we can't tell you much more. Now, again, it's an open investigation. They're under a lot of pressure. There is no question. I'm certainly not going to let this go. And I want the public to not let this go, because you were spiritually impacted by watching a man be publicly executed. And you need to keep that energy and understand that something is very wrong here. Nothing they are saying feels good to me. Honestly, the thing that they said that felt the best to me is when they said that there's probably somebody else involved. That sounds about right. 2 people, maybe these aren't even the same people. Maybe the guy in the maroon is not the same as the guy in the black shirt. That would make sense, because why change your outfit? Both of these look like you would blend in on a college campus. So why are you blending in twice?
No, I mean, he was scoping out the scene in a different fit. That makes total sense. What? Yeah, he went in him changing the outfit before he does the shooting, that does make sense.
Does that make any sense to you? Why would you change your outfit? Like just like a random fashion show while you're going to murder someone? I just want to change my outfit for funsies. And then we hear that Tyler Robinson, when he is apprehended, it is communicated to us that he is wearing the maroon outfit. Now, I want to be clear. They said this was 33 hours later. So he changed his outfit, I mean, ostensibly because he wants to avoid detection would be the only thing that's, I think, is reasonable to assume. But then he changes back into the outfit that he was wearing before the shooting. For what reason? 33 hours later, like no shower time? He just wanted them to know that it was him on the camera. That's not clear to me. Why are we changing outfits? Are we just two different people? I think it's reasonable to ask that question. Are there two different people that are involved? Another thing that's not clear to me is that the story that we were told was that Tyler Robinson allegedly, after speaking with the pastor, his dad turned him in. Bill Ackman, probably $1 million, right? Thanks, Bill. He really cared about Charlie. And that money is now going to the father of this child who, after prayer and speaking to a pastor, they're saying, okay, well, he turned himself in. That we were told he turned himself in. Now we're being told that actually he hasn't confessed. So I'm just wondering, how do you turn yourself in without confessing? Because if I say my kid did it, that's enough for an arrest? What if the kid's...
Wait a minute. Is the father Mossad? What's happening? This is a good point, actually. No, dude. The father saw his son on the CCTV footage, went and talked to the local pastor about it. There was some conflicting information early on. It's a bishop, not a pastor. As an ex-Mormon, that bothers me, Lamau. Okay, whatever. Like, I think the dad confronted him, and I think the initial reporting on it was like that he was saying he was gonna kill himself. Ugh. This is a much murkier than some sanitized account of his dad doing the right thing. Two federal law enforcement sources told CBS News that Robinson's father saw the photos released by authorities and confronted his son. Robinson admitted to being the person in the photos, and his father encouraged him to turn himself in, the sources said. Robinson responded to his father, saying he would rather die by suicide than turn himself in, prompting his father to call a youth pastor close to the family, the sources said. Yeah, this is what I remember. The pastor and Robinson's father tried to calm him, according to the sources. The pastor, who was also a court security officer, also called the U.S. Marshal Service, which arrived and detained Robinson, the sources said. Why'd he snitch? I don't know. I don't know what like Mormon bishop code looks like, but I feel like if you go to a pastor for like a Catholic in a Catholic church, they keep that shit, right? Isn't there like a code or a Catholic, in a Catholic church, a Catholic priest, like that's code, right? You just got to say your Hail Marys and apologize or whatever. No, bishops are supposed to talk. Mormons don't do the canon seal. Pastor is not a priest. They don't have to snitch, but there's been criticism over them hiding crimes. Unironically, priests cannot testify in court. There was a whole ass court case about it. He was Protestant, not Mormon. Wait, what? Is that crazy? He's not cooperating because he won't say it's a trans/leftist thing. He's going to fold at some point and magically not get the death sentence. I don't know if it's like that. That's pretty normal. What do you mean Protestants make up the majority of population? Lol, Utah or not? No, the reason why I'm confused is because I thought they said he was a Mormon family.
Because he didn't do it. I didn't do it. Dad says you did. Okay, how did they arrest him without a confession? I'm going to show you Governor Cox's statement where he says that the kid has not confessed. Take a listen.
Wait, what? You don't have to have a confession to arrest someone. What the What? Yeah, everybody that's ever arrested for any crime is... they've always confessed that they've done the crime. What do you mean? That's a crazy statement. That is crazy. It makes perfect sense for someone in their private conversations with their family admitting to a crime and then once apprehended, refusing to admit it. After that point, it's he's going to get his lawyers, and then his lawyers are going to, advise him not to do that, I suspect. There's enough probable cause there for an arrest. He literally is the person in the footage that they have as the primary suspect for the shooting. So, even on that alone, it makes sense to bring him in and detain him and investigate further.
I know you heard that report by Matt Gutman and this latest reporting in the New York Times that some of the suspect's acquaintances were allegedly talking to him online and joking.
So you see the clear conspiracy happening, right? No. I mean, there are, as is the case with every single shooting or every single high-profile incident, there are inconsistencies with the narrative that was designed. This is true. But as far as like a clear conspiracy, I don't see it. If anything, this actually doesn't show that there's a clear conspiracy because the government hasn't been so coherent with their narrative. They keep saying it's a leftist, but they show very little evidence as to why he might be, which is why I'm confused. Do you understand? Because like, if the government came out and was like, oh, we have so much evidence, this guy loves Hamas, this guy is a fan of whichever insert group that they hate. Oh, he was a DSA guy. He loves Palestine. He shot Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk is against Palestine. That's why he did it. Then I'd be like, that's a little weird. He's a Bernie bro who loves Zoran and Hasan Abi Piker, like all those things, right? Then I can understand why it would be a little suspicious. They even ran with like the trans narratives and very quickly were like, oops, maybe not. You know what I mean?